And we are live. I know it'll take a few minutes for everyone to come on, so we could always just chit chat among ourselves until everyone gets here.
Exactly. Well, I hope someone's showing up.
Well, we had quite a few people registered, so I'm
I
sure people are
saw.
gonna come.
Yes.
And when they do, I hope they'll say hello, and I hope the comments are working today.
I know we had such a lag last time. I feel bad that we probably missed some of them because of the joy of technology.
Absolutely, absolutely. So today is one of those another warm day, relatively warm day in New York.
Yeah,
It feels more like spring than fall.
which I'm not complaining.
I'm not either. I love
I
it. I
hate the
love it.
cold.
Me
Like
too.
in January, you're like, oh God, please, could spring
Oh,
get here already?
hello. G is here. Hello.
Oh,
So
hi.
is Deborah. So LinkedIn is working. People
Woo!
are coming. Yay. We're
That's
excited.
always an exciting thing.
And as you enter, if everyone can say hello and tell us where you're calling in from, and then we'll get started in another minute or two. Lance, thank you for coming. Oh my God, it's so early for you. Good morning.
California. Yes, it really is your coffee break, or not even your break, your coffee wake up.
Exactly, exactly. We're so glad you're here. Anyone else coming in? Hopefully, they can actually comment, which I'm going to talk about in a moment. Yes, G, you're absolutely right. There's an issue with comments through LinkedIn. I'm going to give like 2 tips that I found that worked. I'm gonna wait for a few more people to arrive. We have Eden and Diana and Lance. We already saw it, 3 AM wake up call.
Oh, Lance,
Wow.
I'm so sorry.
No.
But Eden's meeting got canceled and she's here. So that's good news.
Yay. Oh, and Todd is here, so he knows we're having really nice weather today. Tanya, hello, hello. So we can get started. There are quite a few people coming in.
Absolutely.
So, welcome everyone. Um, for those who were already here, like for our last show last month, welcome back. And for anyone who's new, thank you for joining us. The one thing I want to share before we get started, and then we'll introduce ourselves, I have a couple of tips which were already mentioned by G that could be an issue with commenting. And sometimes you're sitting on the live and you're like, wow, nobody's commenting. And you know the action in the comments are often where everything is taking place. So I have 2 things that worked for me recently, so I want to share that. One is if you just add a comment that just says hi, hello, all of a sudden all the previous comments will start loading and you'll see them all. Another option is I'm going to make sure that we highlight as many comments as possible so you'll see them on the screen, like right down here. So that'll help as well. And then, of course, after the event, all the comments are there. So you can go back in and like reply to people that you wanted to see or connect with people. The last resort, if you see nothing and you're not able to comment, go to YouTube. If you go to at the conflict strategist with no spaces, the live is also there. And we'll see your comments and we'll be able to reply to you verbally. So that's enough of the LinkedIn 101. Melissa, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. So, hi, everyone. I'm so grateful you all came to join us this morning. And I'm Melissa Cohen. I am an executive in the fashion industry. I think you can hear the cars and trucks honking outside. I'm in New York City. Thank you. There you go. There's some more. I started my own business consulting in the middle of the COVID pandemic. And I also love all things LinkedIn. And I'm super happy to be here with Leslie.
Me too. So I'm Leslie Nidick, the conflict strategist. I love sharing on LinkedIn. I think people know that already. I love talking about conflict, communication, and negotiation too. Um, in the near future, I'm going to be launching something that kind of answers the question that a lot of people have been asking me, like, how do you get some quick help with a conflict you're in? And there's something I'm going to be launching before the end of the year, and I'm excited about that. I'll talk more about it next month. But until then, I share here on LinkedIn, YouTube. I have a blog. Reach out to me through the DMs. I'm always open to sharing tips and ideas to help you communicate better in the workplace. So there's so many additional people who have shown up, and I just want to flash a few of them. If you're not, hopefully everyone is seeing the comments, but if you're not, let's see who else is here. Wow, Amy from South Africa. Thank you for being here. Love seeing you. Wow, Dave's Fit Life. Welcome. He's coming in from YouTube. It's great to see you. And I got a few more and then we'll get started. Hey, Jane, it's so nice to see you. And I think I captured most everyone. If I missed you, I'm going to get to you. I promise. So here, while I try to, this is why you sometimes need someone to help. I'll pick up the banners and my screen. Here we are. Oh, guess what? Wrong one is showing up. Ah,
We can talk about
we
that
will fix
too.
that. So just to get the topic started, and then of course we want to hear what Melissa thinks about this. So, of course, we want to talk about return to office, work from home, remote, hybrid, some other, form of this. Each of us has had a different experience, and that's what we're looking forward to sharing. There's something we have in common, though. The debate continues. Even as recent as this morning, some of the newer headlines I'm seeing about this. So, to get the topic started, I wanted to share what some CEOs have been quoted as saying in Fortune magazine. So, Goldman Sachs, David Solomon, he insists that any gesture towards flexibility is an aberration. An aberration is his word. Jamie Dimon from JP Morgan Chase, remote workers can choose to work elsewhere. And then there's Amazon's Andy Jassy. He cautioned the anti-office workers that things probably won't work out for them if they don't change their tune. And in fact, this morning, there's another headline that he's put out, communications that say, if you don't come back to the office, you're never getting a promotion. So it's changed from that you're getting fired. Now it's not, you're not getting a promotion. And the other thing Jassy said, he believes or confirms that all large company CEOs, however he's defining that, agree with him. So, and one additional point I just want to throw in, just, this is such a hot topic now. I just don't want everyone to forget that back in 1979, IBM pioneered work from home. So, work from home has existed for many decades, and it has worked well for some. So, with that, I'd love to hear from Melissa.
Oh boy. So I could talk about this probably for the whole rest of our show without stopping. So make sure that you stop me at some point, Leslie. Listen, it's a hot topic. It's a hot topic for a reason. For me personally, I prefer a hybrid situation. I think there's absolutely advantages to being able to work from home or from a remote location. I also think there's real value in being in an office at least part of the time. My goal, my wish for everyone, and I've said this on LinkedIn a bunch of times, is that everyone gets the situation that works best for them. That would be my dream. Is that reality? Probably not. there are some industries and some roles that really are not so conducive to remote work. And I recognize that, right? I work in the fashion industry. There are certain things that really should be done in person, right? If it's approving color, if it's approving the hand feel of a fabric, I need to touch it. I need to see how it drapes on the body. Can I do that in a remote situation? I can. We all did during the pandemic, but it's not ideal. And it involves a lot of other things, right? When we were doing those things during the pandemic, we were shipping packages to and from each other's homes. That's not really good for the environment, right? There's a carbon footprint associated with that. But the big issue for me, and it's funny, I attended an event last night that was speaking in some part to this issue. We really do miss certain things when we're never in an office. And we were really talking about it through the lens of like Gen Z, who maybe has never been in a fully in the office situation if they're on the younger side of Gen Z. There's a lot of value to being in person with your colleagues, to having those water cooler moments, to being in meetings with senior leadership and seeing how they really behave, right? There's a difference in person behavior to Zoom behavior. And you can pick up on a lot of, social cues. You can pick up on some of the office hierarchy or politics. And by never being in the office, I think you put yourself at a disadvantage. Now, with that said, there are some roles that can work wonderfully fully remote. And so I don't think there's a one size fits all solution. And I do worry when I hear these, very adamant statements from CEOs. And my position is leaders can ask for anything they want. They have that right, 100%. And then employees have the right to say, no, that doesn't work for me, and I'm going to go work elsewhere. And
Absolutely.
the only other thing I'd add, because I see it here being in New York City, and Leslie, you're here as well, it does have ramifications, right? There's a lot of empty commercial real estate. And it's not just those commercial real estate landlords who suffer, because maybe I don't have the most sympathy for them, but it impacts small businesses all around that commercial real estate, right? I've seen many small family owned businesses suffer or close because they relied on that in-person workforce every day to give them business. So I think it's a really huge overarching issue that has a lot of complexity and a lot of nuance.
Absolutely. You brought up so many good points. And it's so helpful to hear it about different industries and that great point you brought up about how it's affecting other businesses because people are not in those same locations and neighborhoods that they used to be in. I think what I've seen that what's common is that there, at least in my experience in the past, there was a conversation about things. What's happening in the last few months, especially, it just seems to be festering, is that it's a one-way mandate. The conversations have gone away. It's like, if you don't do this, you're done. I've worked flex time, hybrid, work from home, in the office, remote, at project sites, all when I didn't know any of this had a name. I just was working. What I appreciate the most when it was my schedule is that what mattered was the work. It didn't, it was like, well, wherever you are is okay. My preferred way was hybrid, a mix, because the most important thing I know, and you mentioned it for Gen Z, even when I've been older than Gen Z, I wanted those interactions in the office, that, the water cooler moments. Well, I still have friends and colleagues that I met at the water cooler. I wouldn't have met them otherwise because I didn't know them. They were working in another department. We didn't necessarily have a crossover, although some of our projects ended up crossing over because of those conversations at the water cooler. So it really connected the company and business even more that we did interact in some of those casual meetups. I would have never met some of them had I not spent some time in the office, even in the times where my work literally was off site. I was going to projects, managing them, wherever they were. And I was only required to stop in the office, but I would stop in longer than just that quick stop because I wanted to hang around and meet people.
I think,
So,
yeah, I think that's
oh,
super
go
important,
ahead.
right? I think you really kind of hit the crux of it. In my opinion, well, no, not in my opinion, scientifically, humans are social beings, right? We crave social interaction. I think one of the biggest lessons for me coming out of the pandemic was I enjoy interacting with other people. And yes, we can do it on Zoom, but it's not the same, right? It's not the same experience. And so I have days where I am fully remote, where I'm working with clients, fully on Zoom, not meeting anyone in person, not having a lunch appointment. I am honestly more physically and mentally tired on those days than the days that I actually go in and meet with people in person. Zoom fatigue is a real thing, right? I feel that by the
Yes.
end of the day, if I'm on back to back to back Zoom meetings, which often happens when I'm fully remote on those days, I'm absolutely drained by the end of the day. My head hurts a little bit, my eyes are super tired.
Yes.
I absolutely think that you really raise a good point. We are social people and we need that social interaction.
So there's something I teach part time at NYU in New York. And up until the pandemic, I was an in-person instructor. I was teaching communication and conflict and cross-cultural communication with people who didn't English wasn't their primary language. If we weren't there together, I'm not sure how we would have done it. But then the pandemic came. We immediately had to move to Zoom, and I was teaching on Zoom even more courses because so many people were looking to take online courses. It's still my group. We are still online, Zoom only. So we've been asked, what do we think about it? Well, I said, you know what? Let me just tell you some of my little bit of analysis. Like, okay. I said, well, I've been here over 15 years. I am still in touch with many students who were in my course over 15 years ago. I teach professionals. So we were all networking together. They're still part of my network. I said, so through up until the pandemic, the majority of students are people that are in my network. Once we were on Zoom, the energy was there. We really engaged with each other, but the connection was missing. There were a few people I've met in person because they, initiated it and we eventually met up for coffee and things like that. So we're in touch. But there's something about that, especially with people who lived nearby. If we didn't have that human connection, we just weren't connected. We didn't have a bad goodbye. We're just not connected. And let me tell you, teaching 3.5 hours at once on in a session on Zoom, that is more exhausting than in person. In person, I feel energized when the class is over. And with Zoom, I'm just ready to go to bed right away.
I just find, especially, because you mentioned teaching, and I'm not a teacher per se, although I do have groups that I teach, that I have some instruction with. And the etiquette on Zoom can be hard, right? You have to be looking for virtual hands and you can't always see the entire group at once. Even if you do gallery view, if you have a larger group, you can't always see everybody. And it can be very easy to leave people out or to skip people over. And I feel like it's also just so much easier for people to stop paying attention, right? How many of us have been in a Zoom meeting, not even a class, but a meeting, and you turn your screen off and you start multitasking and you start reading email or you start doing something else, and all of a sudden you hear your name being called, right? And you're like horrified
Yes,
because you have no idea what anybody was talking about or
exactly.
what you're being asked, right? So I absolutely think there's a lot of value to having a hybrid. I truly do. I don't really see a scenario where people want to go back to the office 5 days a week. I really do feel that ship has kind of sailed. And there are people doing it. I mean, especially in my industry, there are definitely a lot of companies where my friends have said, yep, we've been told 5 days a week back in the office, no exceptions. But I don't think that's the norm. And I think overall, people are really gravitating towards this hybrid model. And to your point, it can be done. I mean, so prior to the pandemic, I worked at Ralph Lauren, and we were already doing that. We already had a flexibility of schedule and of location built in. And I will say, when they first announced it, nobody knew what to make of it. Right? We were all kind of like scared. It got to the point that they actually said to, leadership, not like CEO leadership, but like, VP, senior director level leadership, please start modeling this. Please start doing it, because if you don't, your people are never going to do it, because they want to see that it's okay. People were actually afraid that if they, took advantage of this opportunity, that there would be repercussions. Like you were just saying, the Amazon CEO saying, you're never going to be promoted again if you're not in the office.
Yeah.
People were scared. And then when we started doing it and realized that it was honestly great for productivity, it was great for morale, and it really helped people that, might have had certain situations with childcare or with caring for an older parent or whatever the case might be. It was such an enormous success. And it was simple, right? It was, you were allowed to work 2 days a week from any location you wanted, whether
Love it.
that was another office or your home or a hotel room, whatever, you have that flexibility. And then they also, I think you alluded to this, another thing that we don't always talk about is flexibility of schedule, right? It doesn't have to just be flexibility of location. It can be flexibility of hours. And so what they implemented was core working hours, right? And it's been a while, so I forget what it was exactly, but I want to say like 10 to 4 or 10 to 3. You had to be available those hours for meetings. And then obviously it was
Sure.
asked that you schedule, important meetings during that time block. And so what you did before or after, you could shift your schedule. So maybe you had childcare responsibilities in the morning and you extended your day later. Maybe you had to do an early pickup of your child, so you started your day earlier. And as long as you were available in those core hours, it was great.
Yeah. You bring up that I learned the term flex time when I worked for the city of New York. Who would think that they were like, you know, looking into the future? Because this was in the 80s. I didn't even know. I'm like, oh, great, we have flex time. What is it? And it was kind of what you described, that there were core hours between 10 and 4. But in my department, we let everyone pick every day. So you had to arrive between 8 and 10. So it really, we noticed that absences went down because everyone, like, I had an event. You know what? I'm going to go to work at 8 a.m. in the morning because I want to be able to leave early and get ready for this event. All the little excuses of why people are late or had to cut out early didn't exist because they could decide on their own. I want that some of these comments are really speaking to what we're talking about. So I want to bring some of them up, like Lisa Stryker. Thank you for being here. There's no one right way. And it does. It comes down to a company has to have some kind of guidelines. But so many things are decided on the team level. Why can't this be decided on the team level? And then I want to get to this next one. So here's Sia. Thank you for being here. She's worked remotely for 20 years, and I know she is an absolute extrovert. So you do have to push, like, figure out how to do the in real life meetups. We all get so excited about them when we meet a LinkedIn friend in real life. There is something about that that really connects us. And then, oh, and thank you, Todd, because wait, I want to find the comment that he was talking about because he teaches much more at NYU than I do. He teaches in the graduate level program. And he wrote, and I agree that in person definitely is a superior learning and social bonding experience. than online. Online's a great add-on. I just don't think it should be all of it if you can meet in person.
I think, the superior learning experience is absolutely true. So during the heart of the pandemic, my daughter was a high school freshman. And oh, Eden, thank you. And I can tell you without question, there is no different. I mean, there is no comparison between remote learning and online learning. I saw it with my daughter. I saw it with my daughter's friends. I mean, and my daughter was lucky. She actually had online learning as opposed to some other, kids who really got very shortchanged. But even when schools made a real solid effort, there's no comparison. What you can do
Right.
from an educational standpoint online versus in person is night and day.
Absolutely. And here we have a comment. I'm reaching my head that's covering. So I'm gonna hide it and then read it to everyone. So what G said is, I said it when I wrote for a publishing a year ago, and the same applies. It's not one size fits all. Absolutely. And when leaders are inflexible, it goes back to a culture miss. Great point. And I do think it's a reflection of the culture. I'm not sure what's going on with Amazon and a lot of their dictates. I'm not in that environment to know what the culture is like. But as an outsider, it seems to reflect the culture. And I know if I was going to work there, I'd have some, you know, definite questions about what goes on in that culture.
I think it's really about trust, right? And trust is a huge part of culture. And if it goes back to what you said at the very beginning, Leslie, I think companies should have points of view. I don't think it can be a free for all, right? It can't be, hey, do whatever you want. You're all on your own.
Right.
But it should be flexible. It should be empathetic, right? Flexibility is empathy. It means that
Yes.
you recognize that not everybody has the same life circumstances. Not everybody has the same commute. Not everybody has the same family situation. Not everybody has the same support structure that can be there for an emergency. And so by having that flexibility, you're really showing that your culture is about people. And that's what's most important to me as far as being a leader or, running a team is really caring for the people that are doing the work. And as long as the work's getting done and the productivity is there, I think flexibility is a gift for both sides.
Absolutely. And the time that I was working from home, but only usually about 2 days a week, again, it was my choice to make sure more of the days were in the office. The reason why I was doing it is because I was getting more work done. My manager knew that and appreciated it, and there were times, we changed the schedule up. It's like, "Oh, you know what? There's some meetings with people coming from out of town. Let's switch up the days." Great. Thankfully, he was the one that made those assumptions that when I was at home, I was actually getting more done than I would have in the office because of the type of work I was doing. However, I had to manage other people's perceptions, and there were people, "Oh, nice. What do you work, banking hours or something? I think they work more in a bank than you." And you'd get those comments, and it would it, you know, I'd have to defend it a lot. So that I kept doing it because I really was doing a better job, but there were days where I didn't like managing all the talk and the assumptions from other people. I was just lucky that my boss was not one of them.
Absolutely. And but I would assume that they also could have that flexibility if they wanted it. So
Absolutely.
that would be my answer to, the snarky people. And we all deal with those, right? Oh, you half day today, if you leave at 4. Um,
Right.
if they have the same flexibility, then they should embrace it.
Exactly. Exactly. And I'm looking at the clock. I'm the timekeeper, and I try to keep to everyone's time because we want to make this like a 30-minute packed, show, but we want to respect your time. So we love that you were here. We're looking forward to doing this monthly. It's all about careers, business, and LinkedIn, and whatever topic is hot at the time. We all have different experiences. I do, Melissa does, and all of you. So we love hearing from you, and we can't wait to get back into the comments. And we're getting a call for I want more. Thank you, Scott. It is the end. So we look forward to engaging with you in the comments. We hope you'll join us again. We'll announce the next date soon. And if Melissa wants to close it out, I just want to say, see you in the comments.
Yeah, no, just thank you so much to everyone who spent time with us this morning. I cannot believe it's 10:30. That's absolutely wild. And thank you all for your comments. I'm seeing them scrolling by, and they are really thoughtful and really interesting. And I am definitely going to be chatting with all of you. So thank you so much, and thank you, Leslie, for hosting this as always.
Oh, and thank you, Melissa, for being here. I love chatting with you. See you all soon, and happy Thanksgiving for
Happy
everyone in the United
Thanksgiving.
States.